Sometimes the most dangerous person in your life isn't the stranger hiding in the shadows. It's the person who already has your trust, the one who offers you a ride home, the one who comforts your family, the one everyone describes as kind, generous, and dependable. In a quiet town in Missouri, a woman appeared to be exactly that. She was calm under pressure. Always willing to help. Always there when someone needed her. But behind that friendly smile was a secret that would eventually unravel one of the most shocking true crime cases in recent American history. This isn't just the story of a brutal murder. It's a story about deception. About a man who lost years of his life for a crime he didn't commit, and about a killer who believed she had created the perfect plan. What happened would expose how a single assumption can send an entire investigation in the wrong direction. Before we find out what happened next, if you're enjoying these carefully researched true crime stories, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us bring you more real cases just like this. Now, let's continue. This is the true story of the murder of Betsy Faria, December 27, 2011. Christmas had just passed. The decorations were still hanging outside homes across Troy, Missouri. Snow covered the lawns. The streets were quiet. Inside one home, 42-year-old Betsy Faria was fighting the hardest battle of her life. She had been diagnosed with advanced breast cancer. Months of treatment had left her exhausted. Walking had become difficult. Even simple daily activities required help. Her family knew her condition was getting worse. Friends tried to spend as much time with her as possible. That evening, after finishing another round of chemotherapy, Betsy needed a ride home. A close friend volunteered. Her name was Pam Hupp. To everyone watching, it looked like another ordinary act of kindness. No one imagined it would be the last time Betsy would ever be seen alive. Pam later told investigators she dropped Betsy off safely at home during the evening. She claimed Betsy walked inside and waved goodbye. Nothing about the story seemed unusual. At least, not yet. Several hours later, Betsy's husband, Russ Faria, returned home. He had spent the evening with friends playing games and socializing. Multiple people had seen him throughout the night. His schedule appeared normal. As he entered the house, he immediately noticed something was wrong. The home was unusually quiet. He called out Betsy's name. There was no answer. He walked farther into the living room. Then everything changed. Betsy was lying on the floor. There was blood everywhere. She had been stabbed more than 50 times. The attack had been so violent that investigators would later describe it as one of the most brutal crime scenes they had encountered. Russ panicked. He called 911. His voice shook as he begged for help. He desperately tried to explain what he had found, but even before the investigation truly began, suspicion was already falling on him. Statistically, investigators often look first at spouses in homicide cases. It's a practical starting point, but sometimes statistics can become blinders. Detectives quickly focused on Russ. They questioned his relationship with Betsy. They examined his movements. They wondered if he had somehow managed to create a false alibi. Russ insisted he had nothing to do with the murder. His friends confirmed he had been with them for hours. Phone records appeared to support his timeline. Even the estimated time of death raised difficult questions for investigators, yet the investigation continued moving in one direction. Meanwhile, Pam Hupp stepped into the role of grieving friend. She spoke with detectives. She comforted members of Betsy's family. She appeared cooperative. She even claimed Betsy had been afraid of her husband. It was a dramatic statement, one that immediately caught investigators' attention. But there was very little evidence supporting it. Still, it reinforced the growing suspicion surrounding Russ. As detectives searched for a motive, another surprising discovery emerged. Months before her death, Betsy had changed the beneficiary of her life insurance policy. Many people assumed her husband would receive the money. Instead, the beneficiary was Pam Hupp. The policy was worth approximately $150,000. Pam later explained that Betsy wanted her to distribute the money to Betsy's daughters. It sounded reasonable. Until people noticed something unusual. The money never reached the daughters. Pam kept nearly all of it. Despite this obvious financial connection, investigators remained focused elsewhere. The possibility that the beneficiary herself could have had a motive received far less attention than many would later question. As the months passed, prosecutors prepared their case against Russ. Their theory suggested he had staged his evening with friends. They argued he returned home, murdered Betsy, and attempted to make it appear as though someone else had committed the crime. The defense disagreed completely. Russ's attorneys argued that investigators had ignored evidence that didn't fit their theory. They believed the investigation had become fixated on one suspect while overlooking another. The trial began in 2013. Jurors listened to emotional testimony. Prosecutors presented their timeline. Defense attorneys challenged the investigation. Some evidence relating to Pam Hupp never reached the jury. Important questions about the life insurance policy received limited attention. When deliberations ended, the verdict stunned many observers. Russ Faria was found guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison. His family couldn't believe it. Russ maintained his innocence from the very beginning. Behind prison walls, he waited. Outside, questions continued growing. Some legal experts believed the investigation had serious flaws. Journalists began taking a closer look. Independent investigators reviewed the evidence. Little by little, doubts increased. Then, years later, something happened that no one expected. Another person died. This time, the victim was Louis Gumpenberger. Pam Hupp claimed he had attempted to kidnap her. According to her story, she acted in self-defense. At first, it sounded believable, but detectives approached the case differently. Instead of accepting the explanation, they carefully examined every detail. The evidence didn't match Pam's version of events. Investigators discovered signs suggesting the entire kidnapping story had been staged. As they dug deeper, the case began to collapse. Eventually, prosecutors concluded that Louis Gumpenberger had been lured to Pam's home under false pretenses before being killed. The investigation into his death caused authorities to revisit the murder of Betsy Faria. Old evidence was examined with fresh eyes. Details that had once been dismissed suddenly became significant. The life insurance policy, Pam's inconsistent statements, the timeline, the financial motive. Together, the pieces began fitting in a completely different way. The case against Russ started falling apart. Courts reviewed the conviction. Judges found serious problems with how the original trial had been handled. Russ's conviction was overturned. A new trial was ordered. Eventually, prosecutors dismissed the murder charges against him entirely. After spending years in prison for a crime he did not commit, Russ Faria finally walked free. Freedom, however, could never return the years he had lost, nor could it erase the pain of losing his wife while being accused of killing her. Attention now shifted toward Pam Hupp. Investigators built a new case. The evidence painted a very different picture from the one presented years earlier. Eventually, Pam Hupp was charged with Betsy Faria's murder. She later entered an Alford plea, accepting a conviction while not admitting guilt, and received a life sentence in connection with Betsy's death. For many people, it was a shocking conclusion, not because justice had finally arrived, but because it had taken so long. The murder of Betsy Faria became a powerful reminder of how dangerous tunnel vision can be during a criminal investigation. When investigators become convinced of one theory too early, important evidence can be overlooked. Questions remain unanswered. Lives can be permanently changed. An innocent man spent years behind bars. A family endured unimaginable heartbreak. And the person many now believe was responsible remained free long enough for another innocent life to be lost. It's a case that continues to be studied by investigators, lawyers, and true crime experts not only because of its shocking twists, but because it demonstrates how critical it is to follow the evidence wherever it leads, even when it challenges the first conclusion. Sometimes the biggest clue isn't hidden, sometimes it's simply ignored. And sometimes the person standing closest to the victim isn't there to help. They're there to make sure no one suspects them. Cases like this remind us that the truth doesn't always come to light quickly, but when it does, it can change everything we thought we knew. If you enjoyed this true crime documentary, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments which real case you'd like to see covered next. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next true crime story.